Oh, okay. Hi, you're from the IDSF. What do you do and why is it important, especially in these times?
Thank you for having me. I'm Or Yissachar from Israel's Defense Security Forum, IDSF. I'm head of the Research Institute, the David Institute for Policy and Strategy. Our role these days, and since we were established 5 years ago, is to really streamline reality to decision makers and the public, to be this security professional body who is also a 50,000 member strong movement. We educate the public, we advise decision makers, and our role is really to make the world and people in Israel understand why it's so important to take Iran head on. What are Israel's national security interests? Those who founded IDSF were senior IDF, Shin Bet, Mossad, and police officers in reserve or veterans. Those are the founding fathers, okay? A few hundred of those, added on top of which several thousand commanders and combatants, officers from all Israel defense establishment. But we open it up to the public because we realize, look, we cannot remain a closed up elite club of officers. And this is how I joined. Well, like I'm mostly from A200 unit, Academia, high tech, but I wasn't, the deputy chief of staff of the military, so to speak. And we opened it up to the public because we understood that people need to belong to a movement, and they receive updates and newsletters, and they follow, they come to our events. So we really created this community here. This is so exciting.
Yep. Is it important for? It's always a question whether it's more important to inform people who love us or try to convince and inform people who hate us or people who are indifferent to us. We're trying to do something along those lines, educating people, but there you go again. But we can keep up with the sound and just put it.
Yeah, but I don't think he's here.
Let us know if you hear us. It wrote in the bio. It says he lives in Jerusalem.
Yeah, I think just now.
It just happens to be in Dublin now. Okay. We could schedule it to a time when he can be in Jerusalem. You want to try to record?
It's recording.
No, on that thing, the audio.
Yeah, it's recording.
It says recording.
Yeah,
you can see time and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're back. Hey.
Apologies for that, guys. Let's try give it one more shot. Okay. I don't know why that keeps
by the way, we have a studio with air conditioning and cushioned seats, so you're always welcome to.
I know, he told me. So, I can come to Jerusalem if you want. Maybe tomorrow, not today, but
okay.
I mean,
whenever. But let's try to do today. Yeah.
But do you hear me cut off? Or
yeah,
when
you disappeared, okay. And no, now we hear you continuously, and but when you disappeared both audio and video. So
that's like, actually a new. Yeah.
Also, this app is a bit weird. Like it keeps.
This is.
But when I talk right now, is it cut off?
No, perfect.
It's not amazing, but it's good. In other words, our app, meaning our OBS, what are we using? OBS Ninja or something?
No, the Ninja thing, yeah. Because we don't use Zoom because Zoom kind of lowers the quality.
But you know what?
Yeah,
maybe it's worthwhile getting
look into other
something
programs.
Less exotic and more dependable. Yeah.
So maybe you want to dive in maybe to like what's happening now because in case it gets cut off, so at least we'll.
I just want to make sure that my previous answers, I see you a bit cut off. Like in terms of video and audio. So
really?
Do you see me like consecutively? It's okay.
We see you continuous. Yeah. It's not
if you
as
see me okay. So sure.
Yeah. It's not as good as us, but it's good.
I think
it's
I
good enough.
The same. I see it.
Okay. No, the audio. I mean the video. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you can. Gilad wants to ask about just like the situation now. But I think that I still want to restate my question because I think it's a basic one, and that is the importance of information and opinion in history. I mean, it seems like history is run by people with ideas and with opinions, but finally, it's run by some folks at the top who are deciding whether to push a button or pull a lever, and they're certainly influenced by public opinion and public information. So yeah, so that's just a question that we can come back to. But getting to the meat and potatoes of things, I think like Gilad wanted to ask like why this is so important now. Why is Iran suddenly so important?
No,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I also just well, yeah. So if we can also dive into First, let's dive into that, and then
I mean, it
Why,
hasn't.
why are
Yeah.
I important? Like,
What? You're bored?
yeah. So look,
No, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm just kidding. Huh.
there is this movie where they said that they remember in history, they remember Julius Caesar, don't remember the little soldiers in the plateau. And that's even though they're paying the price. And eventually, history dictated by those at the top were pushing the button. I see it on the reactions of people, okay, when they say that what we do is so interesting because they're looking for someone to order things up for them in those very precarious days. Like they are absolutely flooded by information. And then, people come to me and they say, what you say often is just, bring some order. And in a reality, it can be very precarious and within the stream of information that what do you actually remember from all these hours and hours of TV panels or posts online that you read or you sort of absorb. And they tell me what to the degree where talking about Iran, sometimes they ask, for example, what do they speak in Iran? Do they speak Iranian? Is it Persia or is it Iran? Do they speak Arabic? Do they speak Persian? So people are not exactly sure, even though it's at the top of the news, right? So I feel like our role is to sort of order the bookshelf and to sort of streamline the reality, but also to give some recommendations because people can be sometimes confused and everyone can make their own conclusion. But I feel like our role is super important these days.
yeah,
For
so,
sure.
yeah.
And in America, do you have are a lot of your followers or members in America or in other countries?
We do have several thousand followers from the US and around the world, especially those who keep track of our content, Idea Stuff Israel, on YouTube, TikTok, anywhere. People who are really keen to know what's going on in Israel and often they hear content from think tanks we disagree with or people who do a very serious job, but they don't have quite proper platform to streamline all these things. And they hear fragments in social media or elsewhere. So we bring them to their living room. We bring those security experts who are talking security, who are telling them from their own experience. And my spiel, for example, is Iran, studied Farsi, researched Iran for over a decade now. And,
Wow.
and that's what I do, and people people rightfully don't have time even to dig into all these things in their everyday lives. They're busy, they're concerned with a million things. And I feel like our job here is to really sort of pack reality in a neatly wrapped gift and give it to people so that they, make up their own mind based on what they know.
Uh-huh. So you broadcast on all the different platforms. Do you have a central platform that you're long form?
We have, yeah, so we have a website, idsf.org.il. We also have the two very successful YouTube channels and we're on, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Telegram. And we're all over the mainstream media. These days, whoever in Israel opens up any of the Israeli mainstream media, they see IDSF. We are also worldwide, BBC, Fox News, Newsmax. It's super important because many times you hear voices, and I listen a lot. I consume sometimes religiously media in the US.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of, I feel there's a lot of confusion. People see it from a very American-oriented point of view. To the degree that they say, well, for example, about Iran, there was a deal on the table that if had we withdrew from that deal, then we wouldn't have to be entangled in this forever war. And this is, I feel like it's a salad of many different elements, many different ingredients. None of them is particularly tasty because just for that reason, for example, yes, Iran signed a deal, but if you don't understand the Iranian mindset, that they are inherently suspicious of the West. They will never give up on enriched uranium. And if they sign something, that means that they want you off their back. and to remove sanctions and to keep flourishing and enriching their coffers and to reach the nuclear weapon eventually. They will never sign anything that will make the arrogant imperial West to impose on them a ban on their inherent right to enrich uranium or to use nuclear energy or even reach nuclear weapon. That's their mindset. If you fail to understand that and you think it's some sort of a dispute over fishing borders between the U.S. and Canada or something like that, then you fail to understand the material, right? And I do think that even those who reach a different conclusion than me need to understand that. And right now we're in a situation where Israel is facing an incredibly dangerous country that seeks to destroy it, and is not only doing that but trying to rally the rest of the world behind it. And it's not always an easy task. I'm actually surprised that much of Europe, especially Germany and France,
not
even
on
the
board.
UK, is inherently on board with Israel now. And
Is on board.
Is
not
on
to mention
board.
President Trump.
They're on board. Yeah.
Yeah, it is important. I'm so positively impressed because as opposed to the Palestinians, here is kind of a clear cut, good, bad rift of, Iran is developing nuclear weapons. Europe, under the radar, fully agrees with Israel that Iran should never have nuclear weapons. They don't want this trouble on their heads. And they know that more and more aggressive Iran and nuclear weapons are going to encourage Iran and push Iran to even further and more dangerous precipice. And the Iran will be much more dangerous and aggressive possessing nuclear weapons. They know that this will entail mass migration again into Europe. That would entail a much more aggressive Iran if badly inflicting their interest in the Middle East. It would give wind in the sails to Russia. Already, Iran is helping Russia with ballistic missiles and drones in Ukraine, and now Russia will be even more empowered to be aggressive in Eastern Europe. All of these things make them understand. You know what? Secretly, we're kind of glad that Israel is doing the dirty work for us, like Chancellor Merkel said.
Yeah.
Even Macron speaking very impressively, zero enrichment, no ballistic missiles, no proxy funding.
Yeah, this
Macron
is
never
all news to the West.
Keir Starmer, right?
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but but I do see voices that are still opposing us to attacking Iran, and people from UN and people that are associated with uranium and enrichment and uranium policy that are saying that we should still try to solve this in diplomatic ways. How do they keep their stance? How do people don't understand yet with what happened with Obama and making a deal, and you see that nothing happened. Like Obama won a Nobel Peace Prize, but he signed this deal, and now the West is kind of understanding that everything was a hoax, right? So how people what are people hanging on to? What perception are they hanging on to that still they don't believe that they should still solve it diplomatically? They don't understand what the regime is. So I just want to know what do you think? Like, what's your take on that? What are people still hold it on to? That
why does
I think it's stronger than that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I would just add to Gilad's question, the general question of if you have insight into the how much of this is global jihad, and despite the fact that the Sunnis hate the Shias and the Shias hate that they're all divided within themselves, it's a global enterprise, an enterprise in the sense of money and in the sense of ideology, in the sense of colonialism. All the things that they accuse us of are exactly core to their their constitutions and all in various, and yet they anyways, so I just don't understand how the left is so blinded.
It's a great question because it's a great question because we in Israel often wonder how come some international community would take the side of the Islamic Republic of Iran or Hamas, who, if it were dependent on them, those very same people would be hung on power grids or on street lamp. Or not enjoy the human rights that they espouse and they promote. It's quite, in my opinion, it's pathological. I think it's stronger than them. And I think they're hanging on with Gilad asked, for example, why are they hanging on to? Why they're trying to hang on to something. And in my opinion, it's the hope that diplomacy can prevail, that today in the 21st century, we don't use force anymore. We only use, the word and not the sword. Okay, we need to resolve any dispute around the table and not on the battlefield. And sadly, that works in between European democracies. We know the democratic peace theory that says that democracies rarely go to war against each other. And I just don't think that this is a recipe, it's a prescription that would work in the Middle East, or frankly with Russia or China, because that there is one element that these people fail to include in their formula. These countries, take Iran. Iran is not just a country, it's a civilization. They come with an entirely different mindset to the negotiation. Do you remember that in the, if you remember the tobacco revolt of the late 19th century in Iran, where there was an English company that wanted to take dividends, take the right basically over the tobacco production in Iran, and basically take all the profit margin. And the poor Iranian farmers, not to mention the Iranian state, will not see a dime. And there was a fatwa by Ayatollah Shirazi, an Ayatollah with a very strong stance in the Iranian populace, who issued a fatwa that is a religious order, a decree, that says no one is smoking tobacco anymore. No one is going to smoke a tobacco anymore. Why? Because this is a matter of Western embezzlement. And I'm even going to quote him. To give me a second. He basically said that the Iranians are not entitled now to smoke tobacco because they are, in so doing, they are cooperating with the Westerners who are arrogantly embezzling our country. What he said, the use of tobacco is tantamount to war against the hidden imam. The hidden imam, one of the founding elements of the whole Shiite Islam perspective. And Afghani, another figure, he said the Persian government has sold the livelihood of its people to foreigners and reduced them to mere slaves. So they see Westerners and foreigners in general as people who come to embezzle them, and they can sign a paper that's under the law. But there is another law, another fatwa, who says you can lie to foreigners in order to empower yourself.
Right.
You can lie. It's allowed. There is
lie, and also temporary compromises. So
but how do we learn? Like, if you didn't learn after the 7th of October,
I think it's a religion. I think
and people don't understand. People like see that it's a religious thing.
Leftism is also a religion. It's just like this is what we believe, and it's beyond all logic, and it's beyond our interest in hearing other positions. And this is how we believe, and
when the whole thing we're talking about Israel, about the conception, and sorry, I'm cutting you off, and saying, maybe we don't understand them, but it's not understanding them as a people. It's not understanding radical religion as a concept, and radical Islam, and like it's
absolutely
And how's this gap? Like how do we close this gap? Is it maybe teach people in elementary, like more theological studies, understand what radicalism means? How do you even close this gap?
That's kind of a morbid thought of human nature that I'm not very optimistic about, to be honest. I'm happy because that keeps me, that built my career, I guess, in a way. But in a way, it's like a doctor doesn't want people to stop being sick. So, in my opinion, the more people fail to understand the Iranians, the more people will invite me to podcasts and sort of talk about it, and that's okay because it won't be any more obvious.
It's interesting.
But going back to the original point, of like, it's a religious, a totally different thing. It's like taking, a power plug, 220, and trying to plug it into 110 volt, and it just doesn't match. And you sort of try to, it just doesn't match. And so I don't think that the West is treating the Iranians seriously. I think Israel is treating them seriously. Kind of a low expectation racism, right? What do you want from them? They feel embezzled. They feel class. No, I think that's where it comes from. But I don't think it's going to help them around the negotiations table. I think you talk about peace restraint, they understand strength first.
Yeah, I have a question about how. So everybody like saw that on live. This guy, I don't know if it was embarrassing or not, but
What's that?
I think everybody, like the whole world, saw live that Trump was like debating if to go do this, not to do this, or maybe this was like part of a move. So I have two
Yeah.
questions.
Strategy.
Do you think this was a move? Like, okay, well, okay, Trump, you play this role. Everybody has their part, or do you really think it was a hard pitch and it took Bibi or whoever did the pitch to convince Trump, and they managed to convince him, and now he's on board, even though his voters, a lot of his voters are against this because
Mhm.
part of his policy was not to go into foreign wars and not to go into wars that were nothing to do with us, that are far away. So it was a hard pitch,
Yeah,
obviously.
but there was a very interesting piece in the Washington Post that said that our conception or our impression that most MAGA are against entanglement in foreign wars is not exactly
Yeah.
up to speed with reality. Yeah, there are loud voices like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon,
Yeah.
who I frankly appreciate to listen to hundreds and maybe thousands of hours of interviews and monologues of them.
Yeah.
But I think they're inherently wrong. And I tend to think that the MAGA base goes after Trump, whatever he does. And I think Trump has Victor Davis Hanson, the military historian, said he has animal cunning. I don't think so. He
Trump.
has
Yeah.
animal cunning. Do you? I don't know if you know DVDH. I listen to him
Yeah, I did.
religiously.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He went to the
And
same school that I did for a while. Yeah.
he has amazing instincts.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. He has amazing instincts, and I think he's really up to speed with reality. He grew up in Queens, but he understands the Middle East much better than all those, the
No,
hardcore
not Victor
who,
David Henson. Who are you talking about? Who? Trump. Oh,
Queens,
yeah. I
but,
thought you were talking about Victor David Henson. Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
no, he grew up in California.
Right.
But Trump himself, apparently, with all his business background, appears to understand the Middle East mentality of power talks. Eventually,
Right.
power talks, and those diplomats from the United Nations or from the Quai d'Orsay in France who are simply not up to speed with Middle East reality. They
Right.
honestly want to impose a Western mindset on the Iranian mindset. It doesn't work. They will always hide away from you. They will always lie to you. And it's okay because this is how they protect themselves.
That's funny. I never, for some reason, never occurred to me that, his kind of brutal, who's the lawyer who trained him, Cohen, kind of brutal, realpolitik way of living in business maps perfectly well to world politics, especially to Middle Eastern and other country politics. And we thought,
Absolutely.
we thought he was some sort of, and a good part of American Democrats still believe that he's some sort of barbarian who, has no place in modern civilization. And that he's
he's just rough on the edges. And that's amazing for Middle East politics.
Right.
I mean, you think about the way Barack Obama tried to do it or Joe Biden. And I don't like talking about politics, but it's just, the mindset was detached from my understanding of how the Middle East works. You don't send, your envoys to Iran trying to sign any deal, whatever the cost is. You imposed on the Iranians your demands. You don't go back to the JCPOA of 2015, a deal that I read every letter of which, and basically gave the Iranians the right to enrich uranium. They had sunset clauses, basically. The deal had an expiration date of 15 years. So anyway, in 2030, we would have seen a world without the Iran nuclear deal. And then they will be perfectly allowed to develop nuclear weapons. But then they had sunset clause that says, well, in 8 years, we're now no longer have embargo on critical components of your nuclear industry. Oh, and no embargo on military components for your ballistic missile program. And no embargo and you're allowed to start enriching uranium at a low level. Let me tell you something. There are very few countries in the world that enrich uranium. So the Iranians don't really need uranium for production of electricity. If you want nuclear energy, that's fine. You can do it like a dozen, maybe 2 dozen other countries in the world who use nuclear energy, but import uranium. They import uranium. If you let them enrich uranium, that means that they have all the options in the world not to enrich to 3.67%, like a proper amount, as the Iranians themselves are signed and committed. NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, they committed not to enrich to a high level, and they violate these commitments. The IAEA says it, not me. So they can enrich not only to low levels, but to even to weapon grade levels, 90%. And that's dangerous. And if you want to make sure that the Iranians follow the law, you need to use your strong fist. You cannot just trust them, and you cannot tell me that you're verifying, because that verifying did not, world so well in the past decade or so. That did not get all too well.
And it's not like the Iranians are lacking any energy. They're sitting on one of the biggest neft reserves in the world. So
Oil.
yeah, so that's what Trump said. He said, yeah, but what if they want it for energy? He's like, I think they have enough energy. And that's what Trump said in one of the interviews lately. Yeah, I don't think they're lacking any oil or neft. Yeah, what you asked.
So I just wanted to ask, I mean, you're you know about history, and why do some countries manage to become democratic and to stay democratic, and why do some countries never ever manage to do that? I mean, I don't. And the Far East and the Arab countries, like they're not exactly models of democracy for the most part. I mean, maybe there are some countries out there, but like I'm trying to think of like the Shah, who left in '79. He did very well for Israel and for himself, I guess, but rumors have it, I don't really know the inside story, but that he wasn't the most popular, and for good reason. And so how, is it just luck? Is it some sort of, I don't, what is it about? Maybe America had this luck of being sort of isolated and having these brilliant founders, who managed to come up with a constitution, and but like aside from that, where where do you start if you have a history like the Arab nations in general, and I mean in Persia, and is not Arab, but it's where do you start if you'd have no history? I mean, they tried with Iraq.
They had a little bit of a history.
Did they have a history of democracy? Is there a time? It's a kind of
not per se. No, not democracy. I wouldn't call the Shah democratic.
Right.
But look, I think, in my understanding, let me try to put it this way: it's a combination of mentality, that is to say, your civilization, the place where you come from, and your treatment of religion. So in Europe, think about it this way: the less religion was tied to the state and the separation of church and state happened, the more they were opened up to democracy. I think in Europe comes from a very, very different mindset as well. That's the second part of the equation. And that is to say, yes, there used to be, to this day, the Pope and the Vatican are extremely, have a centralized power. But think about France, who used to have this long generations of monarchy. But it was coupled with their mindset that they would love to see things work orderly, by the law, by the book. And the more, in my understanding...
Well, no.
Froze. Oh, well.
Oh, man.
We're frozen too. Everybody's frozen. Maybe it's Iran.
Maybe it's Iran.
We can edit it, though. It's not like the end of the world.
Oh.
Here we are.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, no, you're
right.
back.
We can still, we can edit stuff. It's not like...
Yeah. After editing is easy.
Want to restart from the banter. Let me put it this way. I think it's a combination of your mentality and your civilization, and coupled with the way you treat religion. So let's take France, for example. I think they separated church and state fairly early on, 300 years ago, and they had long monarchies for hundreds of years. But then they had enough, and they wanted democracy, it rained down into the Jacobins and those who were in the Reign of Terror, and they gone through some tumultuous times. They came back to Napoleon III, just because they saw that democracy doesn't work, and that transpired at some point, sometime in 19th century. They accepted democracy. Look at the United Kingdom; they also had a monarchy, and in the United Kingdom, you don't have a separation of church and state per se, because the monarch is also the head of the Church of England. Okay, and he has the absolute power till today. King Charles can dissolve Parliament, he can fire the Prime Minister, he can own any swan that he wants in the United Kingdom.
Any swan.
But right,
Mhm.
that's the great benefit of being a king,
Mhm.
because the king is considered to be the protector of the swans. But you also had the Glorious Revolution, where they came to the king and said, "We want a constitution." They didn't quite get a constitution of the UK, but they got the common law, and they got the parliamentary. They got the parliament system, and so the point is that each civilization, each mentality found its own way to go about it. You had the United States with its departure point, where you had the founding fathers and Washington, Jefferson, all the rest of them, and John Adams, and those who said, "Look, we left Europe and the monarchy in order to not to be based on our history, but to based on our philosophy, not to base ourselves on our social status and our how blue our blood is or isn't, but what is your potential? What is your God-given potential?" Out of many one, anyone can succeed. Even Barack Obama grew up in South side of Chicago. He can make it. Okay. He grew up in Hawaii. Never mind. But that he spent much of his life in Chicago.
Yeah,
But
Ghana or wherever.
yeah, well, Kenya and all are fine.
Yeah.
I grew up in Indonesia, fine. But even he can succeed. Even he can make, right? Anyone can make it. Let's take a look at the Middle East. Religion, very strong. Okay. Separation of religion and state doesn't really happen. And I have to tell you, the mentality is also different, because Europe and the Westphalian system of countries who don't interfere in each other's business, and the Western world, Europe, the United States, those are the ones who founded all the international institutions after World War II, especially the World Bank, the United Nations, the European Union that evolved from the right. From those economic-based cooperations in the 50s until the European Union in the early 90s. But I think they view paperwork and law and written agreements and signed agreements as a basis. And in my feelings that the Arab culture, Persian culture, even Jewish culture, you sign, that's fine. That's between you and the paper. But what's between you and God? What's between you and the person you sign with? It's okay to sign a paper, but did you look me in the eye? Did you shake my hand? In Israel, they used to shake hands sometime, like 50 years ago, and that would do. You saw it with the handshake. In Iran, I feel like the mentality is such that you are more strongly associated with your tribe. If you are Persian, Azeri, Baluchi, or other ethnicity, you're associated with your family. That is to say, don't come to me and say, I came here, I didn't see you for 2 years. I just came to ask for a favor. No. You should come in, sit at the corsi on the low couch, have a chai, have a tea, shake my hand, look me in the eye, engage in conversation, maybe in a month, ask something, right?
Right.
But I think Europe looks at it as, if Iran signed a paper, then we're good. It doesn't work like that, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's different of both mentality and religion.
The whole philosophy of also Bibi and Trump, I guess, now is like Bibi wrote about it like early in the 90s, that peace through strength, that this is what your neighbors understand. They don't understand signing papers and bureaucratic work and paperwork. That's not their thing. They understand. They understand strength. They understand real communication. Maybe speaking in their own language. It seems like every time you speak in Arabic, and if you say something in Arabic, he'll treat you 100% different if you speak to him in Hebrew. You did something towards him. You have a common basis, and they it seems like then more than any other nation. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if this is true, but they take it really seriously.
The language.
Yeah, the language. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's kind of taking those barriers away, and like we're making a real bond over something real, and not just a piece of paper that for them We don't.
Oh yeah. I mean, you want a real bond. I mean, you guys are probably you feel it in your everyday lives. Yeah. I mean, you sign with your employer, right? There's a contract. That's fine. Who looks at the contract after a month? Who looks at the contract? No one. I mean, it's really right.
Right.
It's based on your dynamics between you and your employer, and you want to take more responsibility, and you don't really count the hours because you want to look serious and all that. I mean, that the contract doesn't matter. And I feel Iran kind of works the same. I mean, we can sign whatever the West wants us to sign, so long as they leave us alone, they take off the sanction, and we get to define the rules of the game. For example, if they want the inspections, the West wants inspection over the nuclear sites. That's what Obama wanted. That's what even Trump wanted. And the Iranians say, sure, we will allow your inspectors to come to our nuclear facilities, but they're ours. Like you walk into my house and you want to look into in the basement. Who are you, right? I don't care what your ID says. I want you, first of all, ask for my permission. So in the JCPOA, the 2015 deal, they said, we need to ask 2 weeks in advance before we come to a nuclear site. And we need to coordinate with Iran. And maybe or maybe not, they will let us in some parts of the nuclear site. And they can offer alternative means than inspection. Maybe the Iranians themselves will come and take a picture of whatever it is they want in the centrifuge cascade or whatever. That is unacceptable. And for the West, is that okay? They agreed to inspection. And for the Iranians, it's like, great. The West is such a sucker, I'm sorry for the word, that they agreed to anything they offer them. All right. It's a bit like, I heard some country in East Europe that received some feedback from its American partners. You know how the U.S. donates a lot of money to around the world, and you get a report and what you did with the American money and how you can improve. And they start like this. Well, we are very happy what we see. Of course, we are thrilled to be engaging with you, and we are, of course, very happy for the cooperation. We just have a few comments. And then 16 pages of comment. And that Eastern European country said, wow, that's amazing. They're so happy. We just need to fix a few things. And they said, you didn't understand anything. I mean, Americans are unhappy. If they have 16 pages of feedback, they are very unhappy and you want to improve right now. It's just the same with the Iranians. They say, of course, we're very happy to cooperate with the West. But is that okay if you respect us first? If you ask for a permission first? And of course, no use of force. And just like Arakchi and the Supreme Leader said yesterday, it's absolutely non-negotiable our right to enrich uranium, our right to hold the nuclear program. So that's out of the question. We're talking about all sorts of bits and pieces that are important to you, but we want to preserve our right to enrich uranium. That's how their mindset works.
Yeah, they're an empire.
They're
an empire. Don't take our power. We're not just like this little tiny nation that you can like play around with us. We're an empire. We have our own. We have our own goals, our own things we want to do. If we want to enrich uranium, we'll do it. Not because we want to do anything with it, just because we're the empire and we decide what to do, and nobody's gonna tell us what to do.
Right.
That's what I.
Yourself to be accepting dictations from other countries. So why would Iran accept dictations from you?
Yeah.
Right.
I would like to dive into like what's happening now. I think like tons of listeners, especially
nothing's
for
happening.
listeners,
Why would you
nothing's
think
happening.
anything?
Nothing major. But yeah, I want to ask you also some obvious questions of just like what's your take on what's happening, and how long is this going to be? And do you think there is a possibility that that Iran's friends or maybe their long-term friends will join? Do you see this escalating? Is this already World War III? A lot of questions like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's World War III. I don't think, but if it's World War III, if Russia and China, for example, die on the Iranian hill, and I don't see them do it. They have enough trouble in and of themselves. I mean, we see how Russia is getting bogged down in Ukraine. See how China is preserving its own national interests and even, trying to compromise with the United States or signing some sort of a deal with Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, in order to de-escalate with the United States. Of course, they have interest in Iran, sort of a test case to see Western resilience, but I don't think it will go as far as to say, we will go to World War III on behalf of Iran. I don't think they're going to do such a rushed act, but I do think we need to be careful. The Iranian regime is dangerous, and we did the right thing of stopping it. you see what the Israel and the United States are doing. They try negotiation. They give every chance for negotiation. But the Iranians, as we just described, they're at length. They won't negotiate on the core issues. They want to negotiate on the periphery.
Right.
How often and in what format can you inspect our facilities?
Which coffee are we going to serve? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of coffee? What
really?
kind
They
of
talked about that?
No.
how fast will you remove sanctions? Because ultimately, that's what matters to them. They're not going to give up their entire stockpile of enriched uranium. They're not going to enrich outside of Iran. So there's nothing to negotiate about. I'm sorry, but Trump gave them 60 days. They failed. And not just Trump. They negotiated with 4 different U.S. presidents. Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. They negotiated with 4 different U.S. presidents. They signed a deal that they violated. They are openly calling for Israel destruction. And that if Israeli officials are to be believed, and I do believe them because they have amazing intelligence, that Iran, and that's what Netanyahu and the IDF said, that Iran made a decision to break out to nuclear weapons. And they all their stockpile of 60% enriched uranium will become weapon grade 90% enriched uranium very soon. And they can assemble 9 atomic weapons
Right now, even after what happened last evening, I mean, yesterday, 2 days ago, even now they can. Now that doesn't make me happy.
I don't know if they can. I think they are their nuclear program got badly hit. We still need to see what the damage is. And today I saw in the media that the IDF is attacking in Fordo again.
I also saw that. Yeah. So that obviously means that it's not the danger's not gone.
Danger's not gone, but I don't think Israel will finish this war since you embarked on this very risky campaign, and Israel proved that it can walk the walk and not just talk the talk. We made good on our promise, and now I don't think Israel will finish this campaign before we'll put a lid on Iran's nuclear program. I don't think that's going to happen. So I am sure, I'm confident that if Israel finishes this campaign, it will be after we put a lid on the Iranian nuclear.
Yeah, but it sounds like, I mean, if we're already over the skies and we already have pretty much liberty of the skies there,
right?
Then somebody said that they have, like, I don't know if the number was hundreds or thousands of targets. I mean, there's this whole upper class there of the what's it called, the IRGC, who are like
Revolution Guard Corps.
The Brahmins, they're the wealthy people who live in upscale communities with a lot of money, and I would imagine that Israel, and if America collaborates, will go after them as well. Like they're not gonna just go after buildings and the super upper echelon. They'll go after this group of people who are savagely, committed to the destruction of Western civilization. I would guess. I don't know. Even Bibi hasn't called me recently, but I would imagine that that's something that he would want to do. It's
you mean regime change? I mean, look, it's it's a bit of a stretch to think that if we bombard the buildings or even the HQ of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, or if like we did today, we bombed the doors of the Evin prison in Tehran, the clear symbol of the regime and the state TV and all that. It's a good start, but I think that only the Iranian people can do it. And that's very true, that the Iranian regime represents, the forces of barbarism. All that is true.
Yeah.
And they should put nuclear weapons. I just think that's going to take, a bottom up, grassroots effort by the Iranian people to change the regime.
Yeah.
There's no way to rule around it.
Right. History, I think, showed that like a few times. You can't really, even if you try to switch a rational regime, a worse one will arise. So it has to come within.
Yeah, but I asked ChatGPT that question. ChatGPT that question. Why? I mean, I was taking the position that, kind of like the position in Gaza, that if the community, the popular community, voted in these people and agreed to live with them for whatever number of years and didn't leave, and didn't openly protest or organize against them, then that's a sort of complicity. And
But Iran, there is
no,
opposition.
I'll just tell you what Chat said. Chat
Yeah.
said, like, don't be silly. That, if they were to protest, and as when they do protest, they're abducted and raped and murdered, and their families lose their jobs and worse. So so there are two questions there. One is, um, don't you first have to destroy the whole upper echelon of the Royal Guard, or whatever it's called, the IRGC, before you
I
can hope that the general population will take over? And secondly, if
yeah
the
yeah
Iranian culture is endemic, if that really is their culture, with the general population, then maybe that really is what they wanted and what they deserved, and what fate didn't just give it to them because it was random. It's because this is their culture, and I don't know what the numbers are. If it's 20% who are modern democratic facing, or if it's 80%, but whatever it is, it would seem, again, two things. One, that you would have to destroy the upper echelon pretty much completely, um, and a regime change is probably not the best thing, because that hasn't worked in any of the countries that America tried to do that in. Um, and secondly, the question is, how much of that Persian or Arabic style of living on lies and colonialism, sorry to be so direct,
Mhm.
but is part of their society, or part of their culture.
It's an inherent part of the culture.
Yeah.
And I think if you study Iran and you see that, like in the rest of the Middle East, Persian culture likes to distinguish itself from Arab culture, but it
Right.
still comes from the same, dialing zone, so to speak,
Yeah.
of people who are inherently suspicious of foreigners,
Yeah.
who don't like the fact that foreigners try to dictate, and who remember, it's endemic, as you said. I mean, it's really carved into the flesh. Their national memory of a people that was already subjugated and conquered by others in the past. That Islam conquered Iran, and at some point they moved from the Zoroaster religion into the Shiite Islam religion. They remember how the USSR and the UK conquered Iran in the Second World War to impose a regime change there. Like they changed they swapped the last Shah's father with him, right, with his son. So they overthrew the father, Reza Shah Pahlavi, and they installed his son in his place. Iranians don't
Don't listen
like
to
it
this kid
when
on here.
foreigners do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I'm just
Now,
being silly.
it's endemic in the culture. And
Yeah.
I think that you mentioned all these targeted killings, they are amazing. Israel is not only toppling the structure, is also bringing justice to these people who have so much Jewish and Christian and Israeli blood on their hands, and a lot of Muslim blood
And
too.
Muslim blood. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, these are not just military leaders or political leaders. The supreme leader, so called, has so much Jewish blood on his hands. If you remember the 1992 and 1994 bombing attacks in Buenos Aires, that was Iran behind it, and the same supreme leader Khamenei approved it, and the person who was in charge of it, Ahmad Bahidi, later became the interior minister. So you got terrorists, in key positions of government. And you got the IRGC and the Quds Force, who for years, like Saidi Dadi, who was killed 2 days ago or yesterday, that was in charge of the so-called Palestine branch. He was the guy who looked Ismail Haniyeh in the eyes and who funded Hamas and trained them, and who was like the key axis in training and funding them. And you want to tell me that he's just a military leader? He's a terrorist. So in that sense, it's bringing justice, but it's not enough to take out the leadership. It's the Iranian people have to make that determination. It has to be bottom up. You can't force it. You
But
can't force it on.
The
But
question if we can help them also.
yeah, I just
You can create the condition.
I
For
believe
sure.
I believe the army and the
Sure.
Mossad kind of push them in the right way. Not that I know anything. That's my assumption that we kind of do help them behind the scenes opposition. But yeah, they're super. I don't know. Probably everybody's listening to this until we got to this point know that the Iranian people I meet Iranians always when I travel a lot abroad. I always meet super, and they always when you say Israel, my friends are like, oh no no no, and they always get excited. Oh yeah, we love Israel, and that's like my key. Yeah, I know when I see Iranians abroad, I'll for sure approach them because they're the ones who are
Mm.
abroad. Or
Just be
walking around.
careful. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, you're right.
maybe now a little bit. Maybe that was before the 7th
Yeah.
of October. But before, I'm telling you, before every Iranian I met, like even I had last year, I was in India and I was traveling with somebody who knew Persian, and we were speaking with somebody from Tehran, and we're making jokes that oh he knows Persian because he's in the Mossad, whatever. It was not he's not actually from Mossad, but
Yeah.
and super nice and super friendly, and I never met a Persian in my like yeah, face to face that wasn't modern and nice.
Well,
So
maybe you haven't never been to Holon, maybe, but
yeah,
we're from there.
Oh, what's in Cologne? There's there are other Persian.
The community. Over here.
Oh, the Persian community, Persian Jewish community. You're saying
Urgent.
they have a reputation.
we know the Persians from Los Angeles because he's originally from Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot
Yeah,
of
the Iranian people are smart, and I think they deserve a much better leadership. I think the more we pressure, the more we try to attempt to portray it as an Israeli achievement to overthrow the regime, the less they'll be inclined to cooperate. I mean, even exiled Iranians who said, we are on the one hand glad to see this regime taking hits.
yeah.
On the other hand, we kind of feel like we're hiding against, or we are protecting ourselves against a foreign attack on our country. That's a real internal tension that they have. So I think we need to create the conditions for them to decide, but then it's their prerogative, and it's only going to come natural, bottom up, grassroots. I think you can install a Shah there, and there goes the modern liberal Iran. It's very unlikely.
Mordechai Kedar, and I guess Bibi at one point also spoke about like subdividing the Arab countries into clans. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And I think there are a bunch of distinct clan family groups, ethnic groups in Iran. But actually, I will get back to that. The question that I really wanted to ask is about Saudi Arabia coming out, condemning Israel, and
Yeah,
the real question, which just like sits there inflamed continually, is Qatar. I mean, does America really have such are they so addicted to this base there? Are they so addicted to the billions of dollars that Qatar sends over to America? They're aware that Qatar is along with Iran, I guess, the biggest sponsor of jihad, of Arabic terrorism in the world.
they are aware. They're aware, but it's all interests, and it's for the U.S. It's an American foothold and an expression of American sphere of influence, and that's okay. It's their prerogative. And the Al base from Qatar, yeah, you could theoretically move it to Saudi Arabia or elsewhere, but for them it works out perfectly well with their interest, and they prefer Qatar to be on their side. And Qatar is doing whatever they want, and they funnel billions of dollars to American universities.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining that a lot of the incitement you see on college campuses is the result of Qatari money, and there is a lot of blood dollars over there. So, in my opinion, look, they are trust but verify. In my opinion, Qatar is not to be trusted, not to be verified, because it's an outpost in many cases of Iran's interest. Take Al Jazeera, for example. They are a vehemently pro-Iranian TV station that disseminates disinformation and anti-Semitism. They're the ones who got their hands on the first interviews with the Hamas officials, how they get their number exactly, and they're the ones
because they lived there, because they lived in Doha.
Exactly, lavish hotels. Not anymore, by the way. Many Hamas officials were quietly forced to leave. But I think the U.S. should, in my opinion, focus on its real friends, who are Saudi Arabia, Israel, of course, and others. But it's the U.S. interest to be more and more in partnerships and alliances with countries in the region, including Qatar. You saw how Trump, in his first foreign trip, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, that's his interest. That's his consideration.
Wow.
And what about really about Saudi Arabia? That we always think, like when I learned about them a little bit in university, like, but I thought they're enemies, and then now Saudi Arabia is condemning us. So how does that work out? Like I didn't really manage to understand that.
right? And uh, it's funny how interests work, not just for the U.S. but also for Israel and Saudi Arabia. They always say it's right that most of the 17 terrorists in 9/11 were Saudi nationals, and Bin Laden is a Saudi national. And Saudi Arabia for years funneled money to Al Qaeda, but um, that's behind us. And Saudi Arabia is changing, and the crown prince is letting women drive, and he is making investments in the United States, and he is expressing his willingness to get closer to the West, and it's a positive change. We also need to appreciate when countries change. Do we need to fully trust Saudi Arabia? Of course not. But I do think that they are quite significantly different than Qatar. They're different than Kuwait. They're different than Iraq and any of their neighbors, to be honest. And that's just, I think, a U.S. interest and even an Israeli interest to see Saudi changes, not to put all the eggs in one basket and sort of to trust them into keeping agreements. Like I really think that we should give a chance to countries who are willing to change while preserving our right to defend ourselves. And preserving aerial supremacy and military supremacy in the Middle East.
So overall, are you optimistic? Do you feel? I mean, clearly, I would imagine that you feel empowered and grateful about what Israel and America lately have done with Iran. But considering it's taken us, 2 years now to deal with a place that's maybe 1,000 times smaller than Iran, and without the, I don't know, but do you feel optimistic? You're not depressed. You're hopefully you're empowered and inspired by the fact that you get to carry on the the information battle, which is crucial.
Right.
So I think that probably gives you a good psychological push. But realistically, or even just emotionally, do you feel optimistic about? Yeah.
I am optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's my brother often says that a pessimistic person is an optimistic with experience. I try to be optimistic, man. Maybe I need more experience, but the way Israel has been performing, the level of performance of the Israeli Air Force, the Mossad, of the intelligence, the level of performance of the troops on the ground in Gaza and in Lebanon and in Judea and Samaria and in Syria, the kind of inspiration that they put in all of us with such perfect, spotless performance is giving us an idea, not just about how optimistic we should be, but also what's the result of the People's Army model and how people are not, the difference between being a soldier and being a mercenary. And a mercenary is like Hezbollah when Iran pays you and to be their little protege. And at the moment of truth, they betray you, right? That's what happened. Hezbollah is refusing to join the campaign. And a soldier is unquestionably loyal to his family, to his country, to his community, and the nation state. And I think this is the level of performance is directly impacted by your willingness to engage, your belief in what you do. There's a big level of excitement and hype, and in that motivation, I spoke with some of those pilots, and they said, "We are, in Hebrew we say "Anachnu b'shamayim," we're up in the sky. We're so excited. In their case, it's quite literal, but they are so excited to be part of a historic mission. So we feel like we're writing history as we speak. You can't say that it doesn't form a part of the level of performance. And coming from intelligence myself, I know what it looks like when you come to do a shift and you do what the mission sheet says that you should do, or you actively pursue the intelligence. That is very different. And then you do it with a smile and you do it with a spark. That I think
I understand the meaning of it.
That it's such an inspiration to the world. Yeah.
Well, I hope you're right, and I hope that that your IDSF and manages to get the word out and continue from success to success, and maybe we'll do this again sometime when like every day is just like phenomenally different than the previous day. I don't know, but I'm glad that you're
I would love
optimistic. Yeah, what?
I would love to feel like a round table here, not an interview. I really feel like
Right.
good
Yeah, you're
conversation around the coffee table. So that's great.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
yeah, you're
Okay.
welcome to come here. We can get
And
beer or wine or
no,
whiskey.
beer, no. We're done. We're
In my case, coffee.
coffee.
No.
Yeah,
Coffee.
coffee. I just made some cold brew, so we can have cold brew.
So, Or Yissachar, thank you again for your time. This is amazing. And yeah, we hope to see you soon in more episodes. Ol even wrote to me in WhatsApp that he'll be happy to do another episode. So yeah, this has been very good. Toda rabah.
All the best.
תודה רבה.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Take care,
Thank you.
guys.
All the best.
יאללה,
Thank you.
תודה. ביי.
Bye.
מגניב.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
תקשיבו, אתם יודעים, you know what you guys remind me of? You remind me of Patrick and David. Do you know him? His show? It's so, the hypes are so good. I mean, if you don't know Patrick Ben David,
We'll look him up. We'll look him up.
he's like an Iranian exile, is Assyrian or Armenian, one of them, but he's been in the US for like many years. He's the real estate and startup guy. He interviewed Trump.
Send me a video. I'll look it up.
We'll find him.
A PBD podcast.
Mhm.
They're like, they're all like, they're like this around the table. They're like, sorry.
Yeah, I think
You know,
I saw like a
That's
small
I,
thing.
no, that's him. That's Patrick.
Uh-huh.
I like it. That's kind of vibe that I felt now. So
It's good because we,
Sure.
maybe we have a better chance. I mean, the goal, that they say in Jewish, study, like the whole purpose is to come up with kiddushim, with new points of view.
Absolutely.
So if somebody's just stating their usual stuff, like maybe, yeah. But if it's a discussion, if it's like a symposium, where there's active and uncensored, discussion, then it's a real chance you can
Yeah,
come up
and
with.
active listening. So I always write down like backup questions, but always the point is have active listening and like really like a lot of people when you interview, so they see they're just looking at their next question. Even like professional
Mhm.
interviewers, they're just like it's not so interesting. Like most interviews I see on TV, like I hate watching like most of like there's some on TV that are good, but most of them are just like question after question. I think that's why podcasts are more interesting now because people like it's a real conversation. Like
It's a conversation, then, the people sit around the table. You saw like the format we just did or the PBD podcast. It's just, you feel like it's an active scene, not just a ping pong, question, answer, Q&A. But look, I think it's even good that we sort of limited ourselves. I just had to go, but it's regardless, it's good not to give people 2 hours, to give them tam shel od. No, let them wait for the next.
and also we cut them into like small bits, and that's how some
Cool,
people get more
okay.
track. I'll send you everything. Yeah, I'll send you like the final edit, and also send you like we'll try to edit it fast because every day here is super different. So
Chova,
and
chova.
yeah, mamash chova.
But look, I am in Holon, but normally I live in Jerusalem, so I would be happy to stop by.
Thanks so
Tודה רבה.
much.
Appreciate it a lot.
Toda.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.